G'day folks, welcome to a nice little Wednesday afternoon update and, well, little project. It's not so much an update, it's a little project for work. We're working on moving some of the production equipment outside, like they're just bulk feeder spools for PVC extrusion. So we feed it through little letterbox openings in the wall to the cut-off machines that automatically wind up, measure and cut to length. But we can't monitor the spools and actually request the changeover before they run out. So what we've done is we've worked out we need a monitor and a camera and to be able to see the spools outside on the monitor. So I've offered up this old, it's a Taiwanese made LCD television. I think it's got a Chi-Mei panel in it. I had a 40-inch version of this which had a bad T-con, but that was a Samsung panel. This looks like a Chi-Mei one going by the labels on the back. Decent power supplies in them, Starman power supplies. All Nippon Chemicon caps and everything like that. I've just went through and resoldered a few things because the only thing they seem to fall down on is solder work. They just blink on and off when they want to. So that's all sorted. This one just had a dead control box on it, and that's irrelevant because I'm getting a PAL security camera to RGB converter box. It's about 60 bucks off eBay. They're made for using analog VGA LCD monitors as security monitors when your cameras only put out PAL component video through BNC. So it's actually designed for the purpose, and it's about 60 bucks, which is cheap and easy. Work's going to cover it anyway. And I've also got half a dozen small cameras like the one I use in my carport on order. So I'll keep 4 of them and just bill work for 1 or 2 of them, and they can have them. But essentially it's going to be our little monitor for the bulk spools that sit outside behind a concrete block wall. And it seems to... well, the monitor works fine. I know the monitor works fine. But we're just going to, when the parts come in, I'm going to mock it up at home and make sure it all works before I go ahead and set anything up. Where's my box? Yeah, this little thing here. These still work. I've got 2 of them now. But it's the interface block for this board. But this board, for some reason, every time I plug it in to this, like plug in any of these RGB component, S-video, any of that stuff, all I get is a really garbled, scrambled image. It just doesn't work. So obviously the decoder for that side of it's dead, but the PC monitor driver seems to be separate. Whatever it uses to run off PC input, RGB or DVI, works fine. But the side that does normal video input is just completely dead. Antenna doesn't work, tuner doesn't work. I tried the one with the bad T-con. Again, no go. So it's just, yeah, one of those things. I guess these boards just die. So either way, work can have it for nothing. It's not doing me any good. It's useless as a proper computer monitor because the pixels are just huge. It's a horrible computer monitor. But as a basic security monitor, perfect. The girls on the cut-off line can see it pretty easily from a distance. You don't have to get up real close like a little 14-inch screen or anything like that. You don't have to get up close to be able to tell how much material's on the spool, and then call the forklift driver and get him to deliver another one or change it over. At least get one prepared for changeover when the spool runs out. So yeah, it's an interesting little job. One of the little things I came up with. I don't care about the cost of it, but we're not going to bother. There's no point in buying a new monitor until we can prove it anyway. Even if this one only lasts 12 months, it doesn't matter. So anyway, I'll stop rambling and start working on it. Actually, I should explain what I'm doing. I've deleted the speakers and bass completely. They're useless. It's going on the wall. And since the control buttons are on top, you have to be able to power it on. Turning the mains on and off automatically sets it back to standby. So when they turn everything off at the end of the day, the mains is also going to go off. And the monitor's going to go off. So I'm putting a remote power on button in a little plastic enclosure. It'll be down on the wall below the monitor. This might be mounted reasonably high on a tilted mount. Obviously you won't be able to get to the controls on top, so I'm just going to solder onto the pins for the power on button. It looks like that one there and that one there will do it, because they're bridged together. So I'll solder a extended shielded cable onto there, and then I'll also pinch 12 volts off this power supply, because they both put out 12 volts at 5 amps, but this one here seems to be the only one feeding the digital board. So I've probably got a good 4 or 5 amps of 12 volt DC coming out of this one, so that will power the camera. The cameras don't come with their own power supply, so I'll have an external lead coming out for external 12 volt out for the power, the camera, and I'll also have external power on command just with a big green push button, industrial panel button and plastic box. So power can get turned on in the morning, push green button to turn monitor on, camera gets power from the same source, no need for an extra plug pack, and the converter needs 5 volts, but these don't put out 5 volts. So I will probably use the wall wart pack to power the converter, but if I can I'll just build a little 5 volt regulator, although stuffing 12 volts into a 5 volt regulator can make it a bit angry, unless it's really overkill. So yeah, I'll look into that one. Anyway, that's this TV's background. It's only a cheap Kmart one from the early 2000s, like 2005-ish. It's branded Pyrod, but it's made in Japan. It's made in Taiwan of all places. Taiwanese LCD panels are generally pretty good. They're a lot better than some of the China ones of the era. Not as good as Japanese, but I'm hard pressed finding Japanese panels. The only ones I come across seem to be sharp. Like that Toshiba down there, although it's a newer HD TV, that actually has a sharp panel in it. So that's well worth fixing. Anyway, let's get on with this thing. Okay, so the good news is I still have the power supplies from the other one that I scrapped, the 40 inch. So I've got an extra cable that... Oh no, it's not that one. I do have the other one. I unplugged it back when they were on the shelf because they're all still tied to the harness from the TV. But essentially all I'm going to do is pop the proper header in here and just branch off and pinch 12 volts off that, because that's completely unloaded. That's only a power on command. The rest of that 12 volt side's just been sitting running unloaded the whole time, so I'll just put a meter across it and make sure it's healthy, maybe do a bit of load testing on it just to make sure it's still alright, and then change it out. And yeah, two spare power supplies should come in handy. I'll keep them in my own little habitat down the back of the or the front of the my work facility, or in Terry's little tinkerer's workshop down the back somewhere with spare parts. So if any of them either go out one day, I'm going to throw a good one in there, because these are both tested and working. Same with, obviously I don't have a T-con for it, so it's a different panel and a dead T-con anyway. I might have a pair of inverters for these as well. Digital board could be a problem, but if it's just a power issue I can fix it at least once, but we'd probably just go out and buy a new panel if that's the case. Although by then, if it dies in 12 months, I'll probably already have another replacement panel sitting around. So that's very good. Anyway, I'm going to look at these and work out the pinouts. They're just two solid rails, really. All these pins are bridged together. Half the connector's positive, half of it's negative, and there's the it's probably negative and trigger. Yeah, it's on the negative side of the 16 volt cap there. So that's negative 12 volts. And there's a trigger wire there for power on. And the other side there will be positive. Yep. Positive, negative 12 volts. Nice big chunky connectors. Oh, of course it's negative, it's connected to the ground plane. Duh. Anyway. They're both exactly the same model. It's just one drives that inverter and has 12 volts piggybacked off it for the digital board, which has its own 5 volt regulation built in. Could be one of the reasons why they die. Maybe the regulation and filtering isn't the best and it's killing the digital chip with ripple. I don't really know. These TVs were too cheap to bother really going into any in-depth investigation. But given that they're Taiwanese, it's kind of a shame really. They do put some pretty good componentry in them, like these power supplies. But yeah, they chose to use the 40 inch Samsung panel for the 40 inch model, and well, dead T-con. Of couldn't find one for under like $80 or $90, and I'm not going to spend that for something that was falling apart. Like the plastic housing was broken up. It had obviously lived on an AV trolley in a high school for many years, and travelling between classrooms, clunk, clunk, clunk over the expansion joints in the concrete, and rattled the poor thing to bits. And it just killed it. Oh well, let's make some connections, run some cable, put some cable glands in the back cover. We'll cut in up here. Control, 12 volt out, cables can just run down here. I'll cable tie the converter module in here, just tie that on there and run the D-sub cable. Everything will be tucked into the back cavity here and then attached to a wall mount bracket, which I still have to get. A wall mount bracket's about $30–40, so I'll go to Bunnings and get one of them when the time comes. It's got decent mounting points, that'll do. Okay, so I've got some, I didn't have any shielded communications cable, at least not thin stuff floating around to use, so used a bit of old Ethernet cable offcut. It's power, I can disconnect if need be, just power supply trigger, nothing special there, and that should work quite well. Just out of red heat shrink, but I know the wiring inside this thing. I'm the only one who's going to be working on it, so it should work quite well actually. I'll have to wait till my cameras and things come in to do a test, but it's all there. Just pull that through. I'll put a cable tie just to stop it from getting pulled through too far, or a pair of cable ties, and we should be right. Same with that there, it's got just a pair of cable ties to stop it getting pulled through the hole in the chassis. Easy. Job's pretty much done. I'll get the top cover back on and yeah, settle everything in, do a power on test. Alright, let's see what we can do. Already at standby, got 12.2 volts. Nice. Obviously it needs that since the power supplies don't have a 12 volt standby voltage in them. It actually runs the 12 volt all the time. So the cameras will still be energized until the whole system's shut off, which it does by night times. My work's pretty finicky on turning stuff off after the back factory burnt down. Somebody left a wedge welder plugged in, or supposedly, we don't know for sure. And this was probably 10–12 years ago, like way before I was there. It's been long rebuilt, you wouldn't even know it. But yeah, apparently somebody left a thermal plastic welder plugged in, and it kind of caught fire and burnt the back factory down. And yeah, ever since then they've been very finicky about turning stuff off at the power point, not just at the machine. That's kind of why I need the remote start button for this thing. It can't just be left on all the time, or well, even in standby you've got to be able to turn it on anyway, but turning the mains off just resets everything. So I'm kind of making it a bit easier to work with. I've got 12 volts, so let's see what remote start does. Yep, change colour. There we go. You get a tick from that inverter, a tick from that inverter, and away they go. Good, it works. Blue screen. As you can see, the image is fairly rough. It's a standard definition panel. It's an early 2000s panel. Yeah, it's good. I could even have this plugged into one of the PLCs. As soon as the cut-off line machines come on, the PLC could send a signal through a bit of Cat5 and then go, ding, television on. Yeah, there's plenty of ways to work with this. It doesn't have to be shielded or anything. That's not even shielded. That's just regular Cat5e with no shielding. 12 volts still fine. I'll put some load on that and see what happens. Apart from that, should be good and work quite well. Input wise, I think it's still on DVI because Dad was using this as a computer monitor last time he was down. But apart from that, let's see, source. It is on, oh, it's on VGA. That's alright. It's where I want it. Very good. Now I just got to wait for my eBay buyers to come in, the cameras and the module. Anyway, thanks for watching.